Okay, this is a feather scoring video to explain how to feather score laying hens. And we're using a paper by Savory and Mann, which is British Poultry Science 1999, volume 40, and it explains in here how to feather score hens. Okay, so the first score in a feather scoring is a score of 0, which is if everything was perfect. But we have a sample hen here, and unfortunately that isn't the case. And we feather score different parts of the body, and I'm going to start with the tail. So I'm going to look at this hen's tail feathers, and I can see if I pull the tail up that there's just a little bit of damage here. There's some missing tail feathers. But there's no bald patches. She has a good feather cover, just a few missing. And so if I refer to my paper, I would give this bird a score of 1 for slight feather damage or feather loss, but no bare skin. So her tail I would score as a 1. I'm now going to move on to this hen's back. So here I'm scoring from the back of the neck to the beginning of the tail. And you can probably see quite clearly that there's some missing feathers here. This bird's been dust bathing, so there's some litter in there as well. But there's no bare skin. It's just damaged feathers. So I would again give this hen, for the back, a score of 1. Now, if you look very closely, if you have the opportunity, we were pulling back her feathers earlier, and we could find a little bit of bare skin somewhere here. But you would have to look very hard to find it. And I wouldn't bother looking that deeply. You're going to have to be fairly quick when you feather score, so just look at the feathers as they lie naturally on the hen. Okay, so the back gets a score of 1. You then need to score each wing. And here I'm stretching out the wing, and I'm looking at the end of the primary wing feathers. And you can just see that the end of the wing feathers are damaged. And so again, this gives this hen at least a score of 1. If there was any bare patches, I would have to increase the score. But again, nothing apart from some minor feather damage. Now I'm going to move up to this hen's neck. So this is the top of the hen's neck. And her neck looks very, very good. There's no damage here that's obvious at all. So this would get a score of 0. Okay? Mm-hmm. I just wanted to demonstrate, even though this hen doesn't have the damage, part of this scoring system talks about damage that's about 1 square centimeter or greater than 1 square centimeter and up to 5 by 5 centimeters. And I've made myself a template here. This is 5 by 5 centimeters. Make one of these for yourself, and you can use it as a guide. If you see a bald patch of skin on a hen, use your template to see if the bald patch is as big as this or it's smaller, and that'll help you with your guide. Okay, so going back to the feather scoring, I've scored the left wing of this bird. I now need to score the right wing of the bird. So I'm doing the same thing again. I can turn her around. I'm doing the same thing again, but I'm doing the right wing this time. So again, you need to stretch out the wing, and you look at the ends of the primary wing feathers, and again, they're a little bit chewed. So this gets at least a score of 1, but there are no bald patches on the feathers. There's no bleeding, there's no hemorrhaging. Okay? Mm-hmm. So there's the wings. You also have to score the belly of the bird. So the belly is this area near the cloaca. So the cloaca is here. Mm-hmm. And again, I don't need to look too closely. I just need to glance at the hen's backside to get an assessment of her feather score. And I can see here there's some missing feathers. Can you see this feather is damaged here? It ends very abruptly. This is the very downy part of the hen, so it'll be, if there is pecking, it can often be very bald, and you would have to give a higher feather score. But here, I maybe have a slight bald patch here, okay? Mm-hmm. And I can see from looking that that's bigger than 1 square centimeter. You can also see there's some new feather growth here. So I'm going to refer to my scoring chart and a score of 2 would be less than 1 square centimeter that was bare, and 3 would be up to 5 by 5 bare centimeters. So this would get a score of probably a 2 or a 3, depending on how bald you think it is, but it's pretty minor. I think I would give it a score of a 2 because it's about a square centimeter, and I really had to look for it to find it, but it's a little more severe than just a score of 1. Okay, so I've done the hen's wings, her tail, her back, and her belly, and we've also looked at her neck separate from her back. If you want to, you can assess the neck and the back together, but I would do it separately. So do the back, the neck, and the tail, the belly, the 2 wings, and the last place to score the bird is to assess her breast feather cover. So you need to look at the bird's breast here, but the complication with laying hens is if they've been in cages, they may have worn this part of the breast and underside neck feathers away just from feeding at the food trough. So if you're scoring cage birds, you might want to ignore this part. This bird did come from a cage, but we're going to score it anyway for purposes of teaching. And I can see here she's got quite a bald part on her neck, and this is more than 1 square centimeter. So again, if I refer to my scoring chart, I need to give it a score of more than a 2, which is up to 1 square centimeter, and I would give this a score of 3 because it's between 1 square centimeter and 5 by 5 centimeters, and there's some missing feathers there and a little bit of damage around about. So she's actually, this is quite an old hen, so this is actually quite a good score for an old hen. Okay, we can stop that there, and we'll